a day ahead of the India-US 2+2 dialogue to be held in Delhi, we are going to understand what are the wrinkles that are likely to derail the talks between the two sides, or have some difficulties as they try and converge on some of the issues. And one of the main issues that could find divergence in opinions between Indian and US interlocutors, and especially the two ministers on Indian side, that is the External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, and Secretary Defence James Mattis, and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who are going to be discussing in this new format between India and US. One of the main thorny issues could be India's stand on the Iran nuclear deal and the US insistence that anybody dealing with Iran must face sanctions. And to discuss all this, I have with me Lieutenant General V.G. Khandare, who recently retired as Director General Defence Intelligence Agency of India and a strategic thinker. General Khandare, you've been dealing with these strategic issues and especially international relations, and keeping a close watch on India-US, India-Iran relations. What do you foresee happening when the 2+2 dialogue takes place, and what happens and what should India do about the Iran conundrum?
The first thing is this 2+2 dialogue is happening, which is a very good opportunity for India to project its own stand, and the top two officials of United States government are coming here. So when we talk of our concerns as regards sanctions that might get imposed by the United States on us, what are the issues that concern India? The first one is we have a very heavy dependence for oil on Iran.
That's right.
And when we say heavy dependence on Iran, to find an alternative in this short window is going to be extremely difficult. That is point number one. Secondly, in this area, the South Asia and this geopolitical context that we look at, the relationship between India and Iran is extremely important, and that has to be explained to the United States that while they look at us as a strategic partner, they must use us as a strategic partner to keep a window of opportunity open where India can play a pivotal role as a proper partner in case of any diplomatic opportunity arises.
That's right.
Indian concerns are there.
Yeah.
Oil is one,
Oil
the
is one.
Chabahar port is another one,
Correct.
the international north-south trade corridor is another one. Even in this corridor, this issue of being able to deal and have business with Central Asian countries and alternate to deal with Afghanistan and Russia offers tremendous diplomatic and strategic opportunity should US understand that they must have a partner here who can deal on their behalf or deal independently, but the payoffs can be for US as well.
So India could be a likely bridge between US and Iran if there is a rapprochement in the coming months or maybe a year later. But right now, India's concern as they talk in Delhi at this 2+2 dialogue would be to tell the United States that this relationship between India and Iran is long-standing and has several aspects, as you mentioned, oil, the Chabahar port and all that. So in that case, the United States needs to give a waiver, at least temporarily, to the possible sanctions that it will impose on countries dealing with Iran. Is that possible?
Yes, that is, I think, very important for India to impress upon the United States. While we've heard various senior officials from the United States saying that there won't be blanket waivers, initially the stand was quite tough. Gradually we've seen slight amount of accommodative language that is being spoken of. So we need to tell them that waivers are required not as a compulsion that we look for, but as an opportunity which the United States should create. That is one part. The second issue is, if India stagnates, and India stagnates economically or militarily, in the next 10 years, you will have this area entirely under the grips of Chinese dominance.
That's right.
Would that be acceptable to the United States? And then if you correlate that with the desire of United States to have a counter alliance, whether you call it Quads or anything else, by imposing sanctions, you can understand that there is a variance, but there has to be a convergence.
Yeah.
So the United States needs to think of this as a strategic opportunity.
So they must, what you are saying essentially is that they must take a long-term view and also look at their own interests rather than just India's interest or Iran's, the opportunity to punish Iran. Because by punishing Iran, they eventually may end up hurting themselves in this region, is what you are actually saying. But look at the other context. There is the other narrative that is being built, that India should reduce what you call dependence on Russian arms or Russian defense supplies. And if India does not do that, it stands to, it has a risk of being facing a sanction from the United States. In that context, how do you see that relationship panning out?
The compulsion under which the Trump government is working is based on the act which was passed in 2017, which is basically focused against adversaries of America. And in that list of adversaries of America, India does not figure.
That's right.
But they are bound by the letter and spirit of that act, while what they should be looking at the spirit of it,
yes,
and making exceptions and not clubbing countries like India, Indonesia, Vietnam or Japan under the same act, because we are dealing with Russia. So that is one part, which means whatever was done earlier, and there was no forethought or possibly there was lack of vision as to the way things will unfold. At that point in time when this was being made, maybe the implications of withdrawing out of JCPOA may not have been understood.
Right.
Now that it has unfolded, there is always a possibility, and the Congress, I think, is working towards making exceptions on that, which empowers the President to make exceptions. If those exceptions are made, what is the advantage which US has?
Yes.
In addition to the strategic advantage, look at the tremendous defense deals that are being done with United States. In the last 5 years, United States has emerged as the largest partner
supplier
with us in terms of defense supplies, and there is much more to come.
Correct.
And Russia is not at that level as possibly they are feeling. And are they ready to have so many people, so many countries which will have a crib, which will have a grievance against the United States, because dynamics which are unfolding in South China Sea, Southeast Asia and South Asia cannot be dealt with only on the relationship of United States and Russia.
That's right. It's a very valid point. So one last point in this, or last question really, is also our neighbor to the west, Pakistan. There at least the United States seems to be very clear on how to deal with Pakistan. They have reiterated, it's not a new decision, but reiterated something that they had mentioned in in February early this year, that they will stop giving Pakistan the counterinsurgency fund, or the fund that Pakistan gets as reimbursement of countering the war on terror. Now, what do you see there? Because Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, is stopping over in Pakistan a day before. In fact, as we speak, he is stopped over in Pakistan. So maybe there is an opportunity there also for India to tell US what it can do in Pakistan as well as in Afghanistan.
Yes, I am sure when the 2+2 dialogue takes place on 6th, while both sides will give out what are the expectations from the other side, that is, the Indians will definitely give out our understanding of the geopolitics in the region, and we have been highlighting the issue of proxy war and the way we are subjected to terror in this area. And despite so many political initiatives which the Prime Minister has taken, this has not been reciprocated in adequate measure or even intent. So I think this is the most appropriate time, and both the Minister for External Affairs and the Minister for Defence, I think they would and they should take this opportunity to highlight our concerns, and I am sure the United States seeing the way they are taking decisions, they would take some favorable note of this.
That's right. I think on that note, one must sort of recap what has happened in the last 3 years. Initially, India was made the major defense partner. Then United States just recently made India or gave India the Strategic Trade Authorization 1 level. And now one believes that during 2+2 dialogue, one industrial security annex is being signed, where Indian private and public sector companies can source very high technology items from the US by getting that adequate security clearance beforehand. So in all, it seems that there is an opportunity for both India and US to come together, have more convergence than divergence, and whatever the areas of divergence, they must sort of try and minimize those areas of divergence is what is the expectation from the 2+2 dialogue. But maybe we'll talk after the dialogue is over once again. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.